My name's Sue Bremner and I'm a representative of the Save Victoria Park campaign. It's got a really long history as a park, 150 years next year, and it was 130 hectares back then and now it's only 64. So we're very keen to stop the slicing and dicing, and just speaking this morning to somebody about its incredible Indigenous history, which goes back thousands of years, and certainly a strong heritage listing in this area as well. A lot of the park is heritage listed, which is another reason why it shouldn't be touched. In 2020, we were responding to the Lord Mayor's vision for making it Brisbane's Central Park, and it's interesting to see how he sort of changed his tune in the last few months, in fact, about the stadium and the change of government in Brisbane, in Queensland. Surrounding it, Hurston, Kelvin Grove and Spring Hill are not only historic but very densely populated and getting more and more densely populated. All colours of political parties and governments are saying, look, we're going to have to build up because there's lots more people coming to live in Brisbane. So we know that means the backyards will be lost, they'll be built in, there'll be multi-storey apartment blocks and so on, and so those people won't have green space. So that's another reason why an inner city area like this needs to keep its green space. There are no plans, just a few diagrams and pretty pictures. Well, we could just put a stadium here, which honestly it's only going to take up a little bit. It's only a little teensy bit, and that's not true. It is actually going to take half of this area most probably. And one of the drawings I've seen is to just take the top off this ridge, putt, all of those things that have been here for ages will go, and this will be a big fat concrete stadium. We've got a number of activities. We've done submissions and try to get media interest. But, just last week I gained permission to address the full council of Brisbane City Council meeting. The Lord Mayor or a councillor is supposed to respond to you. Now, given that this was the Lord Mayor's vision, I expected the Lord Mayor to respond to me, and so that person's got 5 minutes. What we got was a councillor who is the chair of the Parks Committee, who didn't answer anything that I said about the stadium. She just talked about the redevelopment of the park, so she didn't answer the question. And there were quite a few interjections, so we say, from councillors and from the gallery. We had almost a full gallery of supporters there, which was great. But we found out later, after we'd all gone, that the Lord Mayor then came out and said, well, I think that Victoria Park should be part of the Premier's 100-day review. The Premier, on the other hand, also LNP, is saying no new stadium as part of my review. And he's been asked repeatedly since last week, because we did get quite a lot of media coverage out of that, and he's reiterated no stadium in Victoria Park. So it's interesting to see what's happening at the political level. Our role, we believe, is to do everything we can to save this park, and we have an e-petition to the state government. So the land is owned by the state, but the council looks after it. There's a deed of grant in trust. So two players involved. And we want the state government to pass legislation to literally take Victoria Park off the table, so that we don't have to have these battles all the time. And you don't have developers or sometimes councils saying, oh, we're just going to take a little bit. People don't know that the other side of the ICB is still Victoria Park. And there's a huge 8-lane highway through it, so that should have been the last thing that they ever did. This should be not carbon neutral, it should be carbon negative. You should have green spaces like this which are pulling carbon dioxide out of the air. And concrete is anything built of concrete is a carbon positive structure. So that's one of the things that we've always said, look, limit the buildings, limit the buildings. Yes, we know there's got to be pathways, and we haven't ever said pull down the buildings that are already here, but we're saying, you know, no more, we don't need any more. So try and keep it as a carbon sink, you know, that's something that's going to pull carbon dioxide. We know our park very well. We reckon that somewhere flat would be good. I mean, if you look at the terrain here, the cost of building a stadium here would exceed, you know, somewhere like North Shore, or somebody mentioned Toombul the other day. Now, I don't know the pros and cons of those, but I do know they're flat, and they're fairly, you know, they're not far out of the city. You know, it's a nonsense to say that it has to be in the city. We'll be putting in a submission, obviously, to the 100-day review, so it's open to submission, and I would really urge student generation to get up and say, hey, look, don't destroy our future.